the Art and Industry of Business and Living podcast, discussing conscious choices around business, money, life and living, and creating a greater future for you and the planet. Hi everyone, welcome to the Art and Industry of Business and Living podcast. You're Simone Milasas, your host as usual. I'm here every single week, funny that. And I am here in Costa Rica. So the sound you may hear is the rain. It seems to, at this time of year, it seems to rain non-stop. The rain that I love, though, that sort of rain you go outside and all of a sudden you just drench, like even your underwear, because it's just like, pause. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's stunning here. And I am with two lovely gents who happen to be here in Costa Rica for the advanced body class as well. So I'm very, very grateful to have you guys here. Mr. Hannes and Mr. Sul, welcome.
Hola todos. Hello everyone.
He's a man of many different languages, Hannes, yes.
Very impressive.
And that's Mr. Sul. So these gentlemen, incredibly grateful for what they have sort of stepped into and are creating in the world. And they've started to do classes around the world that's based on Gary Douglas and Dr. Dain Heer's book of The Return of the Gentleman Club is Dain's, and the original one that Gary wrote was the Gents Club. And I think that's what it's called, isn't it? Gary's? The Gentleman's Club. Yeah. Called the Gentleman's Club. And I remember years ago when Gary actually did a class on the Gentleman's Club, and I think it was like a 2 or 3 day class or something like that, and it was the first one that they did. I think the book was actually written from that, and I was in a relationship at the time with Brendan Watt, and my friend Chris Hughes went to it as well, and they came back to the apartment we were staying at, and they were being really cocky and really like, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And I was like, what happened at this class, you know? And then Gary was, I actually spoke to Gary because I was like, I sort of, like, they usually treat me really nicely, and all of a sudden it was like they were being assholes, and I was like, what's going on? And I spoke to Gary because I was like, what did you do in class? And he goes, he said, I think they took it the wrong way. And so it came up in class. They started talking about it because Gary was like, you know, stop choosing for a woman sort of thing, choose for you and blah, blah. So then they came home and they were like, we are choosing for me. And I was just like, wow. And it was this like huge amount of separation. So, hey, it doesn't mean you get it right the first time. It's not about getting it wrong. But it was really interesting. And what I'm really grateful for with Gary Douglas starting this off, Dr. Dain here, and Hannes and Sul, and we've also got two others who are facilitating this class, is Mark Kerr and Roman Pedagin. Pedagin. And what I want to say is I'm so grateful for you guys stepping into doing and being this, because there is a lot of points of view around the world of the rightness and the wrongness of what it is to be a gentleman and how you should be. I mean, even me going, hang on a second, why are you treating me like this when I'm so used to being treated like something else from these men? It's like, and how many projections and expectations do women have of men of how they should be, and men have of men of how they should be, and vice versa. And it gets so friggin' mixed up and creates so much judgment around the world, rather than what else is possible that we could create. So what have you guys noticed that has occurred in the classes? Like what's come up, you know, I don't know, funny, serious, anecdotes? Go for it. What do you want to talk about?
Well, like what you were just talking about then actually was like when we first started this, I like had also a lot of, I guess, judgments of myself about like not being a gentleman, and like wondering why I was like picked to do this. And so yeah, like actually going on the adventure of starting to facilitate these calls and everything and the classes, just being around other men that are willing to be vulnerable, and actually then being vulnerable with them in a class where there's women and men, was something like completely different that I hadn't experienced before.
You know, it is interesting because you say, you know, you guys got picked, you got asked to do this class. And I remember, you know, we did an earlier podcast, which you can also find on my website with these guys. And I remember, I think it was you, Saul, that said, you know, sitting at this table, you were like, wow, this is basically like a bag of, you know, licorice all sorts. Like there's all these different people here. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
And you are really different. The four of you gentlemen are completely and utterly different. And yet what I've noticed is the level of gratitude and the honoring that you guys have for each other, and not asking each other to change, not expecting someone to do something different, like to just be them and to sort of be an allowance of that, accept that, and see how you can create with that. So is that sort of what's occurred with this? It's like, what have you guys noticed?
Yeah, especially what you said, Sul, it happened for all four of us. That why did they choose us? You know, and what Dain also write in his book is like, as a gentleman, you don't have to prove to be a gentleman, just be it. But what does it mean? Be a gentleman.
Yeah,
you know. So maybe it's this being vulnerable and also being kind, but also not being a doormat for everyone, you know. And what we realized during the class is the gratitude that people had for all four of us, and that opened a space that wasn't there before.
So did you expect that, a level of gratitude that people would have for you?
We didn't expect nothing.
Right.
Yeah, like very blown away by the feedback that we got, and also actually what people were willing to ask, like in the classes and stuff. Like there was a sense that they could ask things that they like hadn't really been willing to ask before, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and also they were vulnerable with their questions. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Men and
Mark
women.
said, Mark said that, you know, because you guys followed the relationship done different class and people were asking questions about sex and relationship, Mark said, hang on, you were supposed to ask Simone and Brennan that, not us. But it's true. But it's funny because I was on the thread, like when you guys were doing the classes, and I was even like, I don't even know what to ask them. Like, I don't even know, like it's not something that's spoken about in our world today, about being a gentleman. And it's like, I mean, if you typically described it, it would be like, okay, so being a gentleman is, you know, opening a car door. It's, you know, for a woman, it's like opening, you know, a door, or, you know, pulling out a chair or something like that, or lifting a bag. But that's all about what a man can be for a woman. So what other aspects do you guys explore with that? Like, what does a man be with a man, or what do you be for yourselves?
What we realized also was during the class and the facilitation, there was no competition in between us, and it was such a lot of fun doing that together. And also afterwards, a lot of women said, seeing all four of you, how you treated each other, that was so impressive. Because one participant said, just when she posted on Facebook, there will be the class coming up, she started to cry because of the energy or whatever. Yeah,
But I do get that that's the energy that you guys are willing to be, because you're not walking on stage going, I've got it right, and it's like, I've got the answer. You know, I think Gary and Dain were very smart actually picking the four of you being so different, because you guys had to go into question.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, we're the same, you know, come from the same, you know, breed. We look the same country. So no, it's like really completely different. Yeah.
And it is funny because like someone asking a question could get facilitation from like 4 different angles, but I guess the way that we were also able to like add on bits and pieces so that we would all be able to contribute to like what someone was asking for, and having the 4 of us available for that
is a gift. So what are you guys discovering personally with this? Like, is there stuff coming up for you personally that is changing in your lives?
A lot of stuff came up.
Anything you want to talk about in the podcast that you could share with people that, you know?
Yeah, especially also this, can I really do that? You know? I'm capable, I think.
Capable
to do that. And we had a conversation also, and we had all the same. And then we were in the question, and at one point, I think it was a couple of weeks before, maybe I think it was during the Global Foundation class in Houston, where Mark and I did an announcement.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark said at this point, and it was also for me, everything changed. At this point, we knew it, that, okay, we can do that. I don't know, how was it for you, Sol?
Yeah, I mean, with pretty much everything with choosing in Access, it's like, I guess you choose and see what it creates.
Yeah.
So it's like you just have to go. But yeah, I would also say, like, for me, these class has been like a lot about being vulnerable with you, and especially as well straight after the relationship done different class with you and Brendan, it was like set the scene for like that, and you can't really facilitate like that if you're not willing to be that with you. And for me, that's been huge, like looking at things that I hadn't been willing to really look at before. And I've noticed, I guess, what when people are choosing something that's like completely different, what that opens up for everyone else in terms of like different choices.
Yeah, it's interesting when I met Brendan Watt, who you guys know and facilitates Access too. One of the things he said when he met Gary and Dain, he was like, "Wow, you can be like that? Like you can be a man like that?" Because what he grew up with was every male in his life was incredibly abusive, like, you know, physically and sexually to most of his family and all that sort of stuff, and was just, you know, didn't have that figure around that he looked at and went, "Oh, this is what it can be like to be a man." And when he met Gary and Dain, he was like, "Oh, there's something different available." So what would you sort of suggest or say to any of those men out there listening to that have already decided that they can only be one thing? Like, I mean, like the terminology in Australia you use is a tradie, like what Brendan was,
Mm-hmm.
or Mark,
Mm-hmm.
who is actually one of the gents from the, you know, that does the facilitation. He's hysterical, like, and he's such an Aussie bloke, and was a bricklayer for ages. I think he was a bricklayer, wasn't he? He was a tradie.
Yeah, I'm not sure
I
what.
think he laid bricks. I think he's built fences. He's done everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so many men I see don't see that there's another possibility. So what are some of the things that you could say to them, or questions or processes, anything you want to do, like just to, for them? What would you say to them?
What helps me is just follow what makes you happy. And also, if a lot of people say, "Hey, you're crazy. Why are you doing that?" But if it's something that makes you happy and joyful, then it opens such a lot of space and doors where you can go through. Especially with Access and the tools, that if you really want to change something, you can change a lot. And this is like, for me personally, it was like I was really a shy boy when I came to Access, you know, and I realized the value maybe that I have, and all the men that are outside and that are listening now, please watch in the mirror and start to like yourself. And also, if it's only maybe a minute, you know,
To like yourself.
to like yourself. And what would it take? This minute doubles and doubles and doubles and doubles. Yeah,
That's
And-
easy to do. 1, 2, 4, 6K. Yeah, got that. No, 1, 4, 8.
And it has nothing to do with being selfish, you know.
Right.
When you do that.
That's what I was going to ask you. When you say, you know, start with, you know, choosing what makes you happy, and it's like most of the people that I've spoken to think that when they choose something that makes them happy, it's choosing against.
Yeah, but is it really like this? I also a lot of years sort of like this, and I didn't choose for me, and I choose for the other person. And what happened that at one point I was so unlucky and unhappy and
unlucky.
unlucky. Yeah, kiss me. Yeah. What was first, unhappiness or unlucky?
Exactly.
Especially unhappy, and the money flow run away, you know. And I don't know what happened. Clients, I lost clients.
Yeah.
And at one point, then I have chosen to separate with this person. It was a woman, yeah. And after that, my happiness came back. Yeah. The happiness was there, and I started to choose for me. And this person, you know, she accused me that it's my fault that now she's unhappy.
Oh, so you were supposed to be the source of her happiness.
Yeah, but I believed it for a little moment, yeah. But is it really like this, or did I choose for me?
Right.
And it was not that I have chosen against her, but I have chosen for me. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I see so many people who they think that if they start to choose from them, it's choosing against someone. So if you're out there listening to this, please know that choosing for you doesn't have to be about choosing against someone. You can choose for you, which includes everyone and everything around you. And that's a lot of what we talk about in Access Consciousness, and obviously what these guys will be talking about in the Gents Club too. So then, can you talk about with relationship? Because it's interesting with relationship too. It's like so often you do see a man try and be what they've decided the woman has decided that they should be. So how does a man go about being a gentleman in a relationship? What are some of the tools that you could talk about with that?
Just one thing before we go into that, like following on from what you guys were talking about, there's like, I guess somewhere where there is like, for gentlemen, there are more like, and for everyone, there are more choices available than like what you currently would consider is actually possible. And like one thing for me was like, I was like constantly making my reality like right based on like all of the things that it's like, if I do this, it'll be like this. But like when you actually start to see the way that also other people are choosing and what that's creating in their lives and in the world, like you can see that there are more choices available. And then if you don't have to always be choosing what you think is right, then there's seems to be.
So that old saying, if the world is your oyster, is true. There's possibilities everywhere. There is possibilities everywhere, though. It's like each and every single choice you make, another possibility opens up. Another, like, it's funny. So every judgment that you make creates a whole lot of other judgments to keep that judgment in place. And yet every choice you make has a whole lot of other possibilities available, and then another choice and a whole lot of other possibilities available. It's like, but somewhere, it's like most people in this reality stop possibilities showing up. And it's like, for what insane reason would you stop possibilities showing up? So you can be, you can control everything. You can try and get it right. So everything that is, and everywhere that you're trying to control everything and trying to control your whole entire life and get it right, where you destroy and uncreate it. This is for us three, not for you guys out there. Right and wrong, boom, bad, pop and pot all night, shorts, boys and beyonds, yeah. Now, that's right, we're doing a podcast, yeah.
Welcome to our chat.
Yeah. So...
And what I also did is like I didn't choose to not choose something wrong, but also it's crazy because also if you don't choose, it's also you choose. It's also a choice. And
so you wouldn't choose, so that you wouldn't choose something wrong.
Yeah.
So just don't choose.
Don't choose.
Just be like, just stay there.
Yeah,
like,
and then
don't move. Just freeze.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. That's actually really common. Especially among men, I would say.
Yeah.
And a woman would just be like ranting. I'm allowed to say it because I'm a woman. We'll rant and rave and say all these things, whereas a man will just freeze and go, okay. Yeah. And the freezing, did that create anything for you, Hannes?
No.
But you weren't wrong. You weren't right.
Yeah, right. That's a very familiar energy.
Yeah. So everything that is and everything you can relate to out there, and you're going, oh yeah, I've done that 1,000,000 times a day. We destroy and uncreate it, and start knowing, as Saul said, that there's many, many, many possibilities available. Everything that is times a godzillion. We're right now on good and bad, pock and pot all names, shorts, boys and beyonds.
Yeah, and what would it take that we see these possibilities, and to see also that we have these possibilities?
Yeah, well, I get so much. It's not. I mean, it's knowing that the possibilities exist. Like Saul, you were saying, it's like that. There's so many possibilities available, and the next thing is ask a question. And one of the things I was talking to Gary Douglas today, and I was telling Saul, he was talking to me and Brendan, and he said you need to force yourself to ask questions, because both of us, I know, have been going to the rightness of stuff and going to the conclusion. And I was like, wow, force myself to ask questions. But I'm noticing that. Like something goes to come out of my mouth and I'm like, oh, this is a rightness or this is a conclusion, rather than either shut up or ask a question. Mm-hmm. That's my new tool, except for the podcast, because that would be weird. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works. I'll be doing Hannes's freezing moment. Yeah.
And how it happens that I also said, yeah, they have the possibilities. I can't do that.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I can't do
See?
that. Yeah. How many times have you gone to, I can't do that?
It's a really great question.
So everything of that is, and
Nowadays,
everywhere that you go, yeah, I can relate to Hannes, we destroy and uncreate it, right and on good and bad, pock and pot on night shorts, boys and beyonds. Because Hannes is not the only one that's chosen that. So, with my question about relationship, how's the gentleman in relationship? What's 3 things that a man needs to start?
Grateful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Grateful for
the person and for yourself also.
Yeah. That I really like that tool of, looking in the mirror just even for 1 minute and liking you.
Mm-hmm.
And then double it. And then someone's like, dude, you live in the mirror all day. No. I don't think Hannes means you have to stand in front of the mirror all day. I think he means that you can actually extend the level of liking yourself.
Yeah, but how often happens that you look in the mirror and just think, oh, who is that?
Right.
So, oh, fuck. Something.
Yeah, and I would say start looking at what's actually true for you, because as soon as you define yourself as a gentleman or as a man, then there's I guess a whole set of projections and expectations that come along with it that might not necessarily be true for you. So,
and getting it right, if a gent wasn't trying to get it right, what would they choose?
Yeah, and also allow the other person the point of views that she has or he. Yeah, you don't have to be right. Just be an allowance. Maybe allowance is also something. Yeah.
So 5 elements of intimacy is something that we talk about in Access with the allowance, vulnerability, gratitude. You pretty much mentioned the honour and trust. And so if you have those 5 elements of intimacy, it's with yourself.
Yeah.
Then you can, actually have them with others. So you guys have got some classes coming up. Where can people can find you on? What's the URL?
The Gents.club.
The Gents.club. So it's the Gents.club, not .com.
No, it's
.club.
Ah.
Yeah, you can get little...
I never knew that. The Gents.club. Okay, so the Gents.club, and you can find Hannes and Saul and Roman and Mark on there and any of their upcoming classes. But if you go there too, you can also contact them, and I know these guys do private sessions and they, request a class, because unless you ask the question, they may not know that you desire them to go there. That's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to ask the questions, which, opens up the possibilities. So what else would you guys like to talk about here? Is there anything else you'd like to add here? Anything you'd like to see more created in the world, the invitation of it?
Well, I'd actually also like to just acknowledge what you and Brendan have been creating with Relationships Done Different, because I do really feel like that class really also feeds into and supports what we've been doing, and to see what you guys have been choosing, and then also that you have still been creating, and it's just so different.
It is, I know, thank you. And we were talking about that today. I mean, we were in a relationship for 8 years, and I think right now we're more honest with each other about everything than we've ever been before. And it's I mean, we didn't desire to break up our relationship on national TV. We've been friggin' media and radio interviews and all that. And it's really? and then all the other stuff that's gone on with it after that. It's everything's seems to be in the limelight. It's that's what happens, I guess, when you travel around the world and facilitate thousands of people, is that everyone gets to observe and judge. And we have continued just to choose what next. And there is thank you, because there is a great deal of honouring that we have for each other, and I get that we're more in creationship now than we have been a long time, and that's actually possible with everyone. It's that you guys are in creationship. It's a new word, by the way. If you're listening to this and you're like, what is she saying? It's creationship. We made it up. Instead of a relationship, it should be creationship.
Yeah, and I don't know anyone else who talks about this stuff, who has these conversations. It's and who's actually choosing something that's completely different. I don't know, for me there was never any information out there that spoke about something that was anything that was like even desirable, in this area. So, yeah.
I agree. When I first found Access, and I was like, oh my God, because one of the first things I ever heard Gary talk about was no judgment, which is funny because after 17 years, I think I only just got that the other day, what a world looks like with no judgment, and I went home and Googled everything I could on the website, and at that stage there was hardly anything available, and I found this whole written piece on a world with no judgment, and I was like, oh my God, can you imagine what that would be like? But no one was talking about it, and it's like it wasn't like it was a possibility, and yet all the tools of Access create that as a possibility. It's you're correct. This is the most different, weirdest, yet so normal stuff in the world. It's like the weirder it gets, you go, yeah, exactly. Like I remember a 12-year-old kid said to me once I was facilitating, and she said, Simone, you're not telling me anything I don't already know, but nobody talks about this stuff. And I was like, yep, that's true. That we are now.
And how many relationships are based on judgments?
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I was talking about that to Gary today. It's like the amount of people who actually are attracted to each other based on judgment, and whether it's with the relationship or sex or however that is, rather than what if people actually chose to be together for a minute, an hour, a week, a year, 10 years, whatever, based on possibilities.
Yeah.
Completely different.
And there's also nothing wrong if you break the relationship, If the relationship breaks, how many stay in the relationship also because of the kids or...
Because of the kids, or because you said that you would be in a relationship, so you decided that that's the right thing is to stay in a relationship rather than actually know there's a different choice.
Or what will the other people, or what will our friends think about when we break, or,
Yeah. Well, we were talking about that today as well. We had a big chat here with Brendan at the table you're sitting at now with Brendan and Gary. And, Brendan was the one who chose to break up the relationship. And yet, when I looked at it, I was like, yeah, you're right. If I looked at the past 8 months of our relationship, it was so much about maintaining it, not about creating it. And I went, and there's definitely moments where I go, oh, we both do, of oh, should we have done that? Is there something? And Gary goes, all right, so then what if you guys, could get back together? And I'm like, oh my God, do you know how much I love living in my house on my own? It's awesome. And I get what we are creating now is something completely and utterly different. So I implore anyone out there to please don't think that you need to stick to something because you committed to it in some way. And it's like, what if the commitment was to you? And what if the commitment was to you and you were able to change that when you know to change it? Not from resistance and reaction or alignment and agreement, from choice. It's like relationship shouldn't be a necessity. It should be a choice of possibilities.
Yes, and what I also realized is give the other person the freedom also.
What do you mean by that?
Because I realized that a lot of men, they think, oh, that's my wife, yeah?
My wife.
I own her, but you don't own nobody.
Yeah.
No one. So...
It's true. A lot of relationship is based on who owns who.
Also vice versa, yeah.
There was one guy, I remember, who called his, this was years ago, he said something about, I don't know if you get this with the slang, but he called his wife the old ball and chain. Because you have do you know, like the convicts used to have it and stuff like that? So it was like something he just had to drag around all the time. I was like, all right, the old ball and chain. So maybe that's not the nicest terminology to call your wife, but hey, I thought it was funny.
Maybe she liked it, or maybe not.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, we're going into another topic there. No? Cool. So you can find these guys on the Gents.club. You can also find them on accessconsciousness.com.
You could have joyof.business.
No, you don't. No, we should though. Yes, we should. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming on here tonight. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
Just for if you're interested in classes, or we will be probably in the next months, Brazil, right? We had some requests from Brazil,
also
Europe.
in Europe and
India.
and we have India. Yeah, and we have a book club coming up, and we also have we're going to do private sessions called the Gents sessions, so you can get a session with one of the four of us, and we also have a telecall that's in the works as well. So
And I know a lot of the classes, people don't have to go to Brazil or India or Europe, etc. They're going to be audio live as well. Is that a possibility?
Yeah.
Great, awesome. Well, you've got half the gents actually work on Access Consciousness audio team, so so that's sorted. So cool, awesome. All right, well, thank you so much, guys, for coming on.
Thank you, Simone.
And I look forward to having you both on again, and possibly with Mark and Romain. And I'm looking forward to the next chapter to see how the Gents Club goes.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. And if you like this podcast, please share it around with your friends, folks, anyone, your husbands, wives, whoever you want to know to get some more tools to change any area of your life that you think is not working for you.